then what do you have to lose other than to go do something awesome? Nothing. Nothing. So do it. Stop dreaming. Start acting.
Welcome to the Pinnacle Growth Podcast, where we're going to be learning from the success and failures of others to grow physically, personally, and professionally. Before I start this podcast, I want to shout out the company kind enough to support it, Bioptimizers. If you eat a diet high in protein, it is scientifically proven that you are wasting most of that energy as your body is unable to break it down. If you want stronger, healthier digestion, fast recovery from workouts, and explode your physical growth, you need to be taking Masszymes. Masszymes is the world's strongest protein digesting enzyme for accelerated muscle building and digestion. Visit the link in the description of this podcast where Masszymes is offering my listeners up to 38% off and free shipping on your order. For today's podcast, I had the privilege of speaking to Obin Olson. Obin is the co-founder of Olson Capital Investments, ex-film producer, and success advocate. He offered incredibly valuable knowledge that I learned a lot from, and I hope that you do too. I did have some audio issues on my end, so do apologize. But I thought this episode was too valuable to put on the back burner. So without further delay, let's jump into the conversation. All right, today we have a very special guest. We are speaking to the founding partner of Olson Capital Investments, a film producer and a success advocate, Obin Olson. I hope I got your name right, Obin. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Nice to be here. Glad to take a little time and talk to you about the journey, you know?
Yeah. Talking about journey, like tell me your journey in life, where you started, your path through the film industry, through real estate, you know, kind of just break down your life so that people get a better chance to know you.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, I started at, clear that. I guess it all kind of started for me at like 13, 14 years old. Because I was an athlete before I was an entrepreneur, and before I was a filmmaker. And I think that competitive sports have a very strong, useful life or useful skill set when it comes to winning. First of all, winning at anything, but especially in entrepreneurialism, because it's a very competitive and very disciplined space to work in. Unlike sports, entrepreneurialism has no, it's so big. It's literally everything around us, everywhere, and in most countries. I think there's like 140 something countries in the world, and only 5 of them are communist. So that leaves the rest of them to be probably some form of capitalism, right? And
Yep.
so growing up, doing sports from like 14 to 19, I was heavily involved in mountain bike cross country racing before the sport was really even known about or big. It's gotten a lot bigger since then. And I was sponsored, and I was doing the nationals. And I was actually second place in the country at one point. And then I injured myself by overtraining. I had no mentors really, other than other competitors. We had no formal way of really kind of, developing. And it was such an early sport. It was just kind of like people on bikes, this is what we're going to start doing. It was just brand new. So mountain bike cross country racing is basically trails like you would hike on. It could be a 30-40 mile race. You could be climbing, anywhere from 1,000 to 6,000-7,000 feet. It's extremely skill oriented. And it's very, taxing on the body. Obviously, it's physical, it's mental, but it's all of it together. And I used to win by a lot of it was up here, because I realized that you have certain strengths and you have certain weaknesses, right? So in a competitive environment, when you play to those strengths and minimize the weaknesses, you can get the overall advantage that you're looking for by biasing that, right? So what I used to do is I didn't have the strength of some of the other kids, that they naturally had to just straight out, get out of the saddle, climb the mountain as hard as you can. They had me beat. Like, they had bigger legs, they're built differently, they could outrun me up a hill all day long. But if I could stay on them, right, not beating them up the hill, not getting to the top of the mountain first, but I could stay within reason of watching them, of being behind them, mentally it slowed them down. Okay, because I let them win. So I let them win to the top, which gave me enough breathing room to survive to the top and not die. But here's the kicker: once we got to the top and I'd let them win, and I was hurting, they were hurting. Then on the downhill, I would go 10 times harder for a short amount of time. Okay, I had better skills than they had. Okay, and I could tolerate the pain. Remember, I'm not faster. Head to head, two guys, they're going to beat me. But I let them win to the top of the hill. I'm mentally manipulating them to the point where they felt like they're winning, getting into the top where they're hurting the most. And when they're hurting the most, then I would hurt 3 times more for a minute, 2 minutes. Get ahead of them. Now I have skills. Now let gravity take over and let my skills take over, because I could always beat them on the downhills. I could always beat them in the technical stuff. I could beat them where my strength wasn't, my physical strength was not what would make me win, but where my skill set and my balance would make me win, right? So you learn these things by being an athlete early on, and they're super, super usable in the real world of entrepreneurialism. And so I tell people, like, if there's any way that you can be involved in sports, okay, it's going to give you a foundation for staying power. It's going to give you a foundation for focus. It's going to give you a foundation for the mental games, like I just told you about. It's going to give you a foundation for pain, because pain is everything. And once you get that foundation for pain and you can withstand that pain, you can enjoy that pain, you can actually seek that pain out. Let me tell you, when you grow up, you're going to be a different person. You're going to be a much more of a monster than somebody that doesn't have that experience. So in the beginning, I think that's like the first thing that I would attribute personally to that. And then we transitioned from sports, and I basically, like I said, I overtrained. I had a ride to the world championship with a national team. So stoked about that. So didn't have the right training, didn't have the right mentors or anything surrounding me, because it was so early in the sport. So basically, I fucked up that opportunity, and took a hard look at it and said, well, again, at 38, 40, whatever, that's it anyway. That's all it would have. So I have this very short shelf life, and is that really something that is acceptable? And kind of decided that, I don't think so. I don't want to do that. So I want to do something I can do forever. And I was always really involved or really interested in media and TV and, music videos and stuff like that. So I literally packed up bags and drove across the country with $1,800 in an old car and a girlfriend, landed on the East Coast in early 2000s, at like 20 years old, had nothing. We lived in the ghetto. I remember 9mm shots being fired outside our window and cops coming in, flashing lights while we were sleeping sometimes, but that was reality. That's what we could afford. And she was working at a hotel as a food server, and I was trying to figure out how the fuck to get into media and film, because it was a East Coast town that did a lot of that. And so the entrepreneurial journey basically started there, because out of necessity, without any real training, formal training, I wanted to be involved in an industry that's very closed, very controlled, and very hard to get into. And so I had to build my own skill set to put food in the table, to build more skill set, to get a bigger job, to get some more equipment, to get a bigger job, then to slowly get more skills and a small team, and then more equipment to get a bigger job. And so I was growing as an entrepreneur, as a true die-hard investor, undercover millionaire style, without knowing what I was doing, just having to survive. But always having a goal that's way too big. I mean, just a massive goal that's way too big, that is no way I can get to it right now, but there's got to be a way I can figure out how in the future, and using time to figure out a pathway to get, from here to there, through the failures and through all the bullshit to get to the goal. And so just like in sports, it's goal-based, it's goal-oriented, and that's a huge key to the game. So fast forward, got the skills, got the jobs, got the equipment, got the crew, then started, got the trucks, then got the studio, got the office, got the awards, Emmy Awards, Daytime Telly Awards. I mean, you name it. We were up and down the East Coast. We were owning the show. We were doing all the advertising for multiple locations. We were doing, six-figure jobs. We were doing big brands up and down the East Coast. Then we started, then YouTube came along, and, I don't know if you remember, but there's a lot of early video players in the space. And we started making short content, short comedy films. They're basically, we take a joke and turn it into a movie, which is freaking awesome. We got millions of views on that. There's no monetization. There's no money to be made. YouTube wasn't even out yet. And we won a Daytime Emmy for that. And so we were doing that while I was doing a commercial production. As a director, I've probably directed 300 TV commercials. I've directed 4 feature films. I produced them all. We run the teams. So it's just, it's a progression. It's like, I want to do this, and I'm right here, right? And that's really high. That's as big as I can get, and that's where I'm headed. So, and there's no questioning that. That's a fact. I'm gonna get there. Like, I don't know how, but I'm gonna get there. So once you put that in the brain, and you make that a fact, then every day you're working to figure out how you're gonna get there, and you're making moves, and you're failing, and you're winning, and you're learning from the fails, and you're taking the wins and you're duplicating them, and you're learning from some more fails and going more towards the wins. So you're always biasing slowly, inch by inch, crack by crack, crevice by crevice. You're biasing slowly towards the wins the whole time. You just keep doing that relentlessly for years. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, everybody around me thinks I'm fucking amazing, or everybody around me is saying that we've made it. I don't even sense it, because all I've been doing is little bits, just biasing that way. But you wake up and you're like, I guess we've made it. I don't know. This is pretty cool. So we took that knowledge and advertising, and then in short films. Of course, the short films were a little something that was in the fiction realm to teach us how to do something bigger and bigger and bigger, because you never just go into something and do it. You always do tiny little versions of it, so that if you fail in the tiny little version, you don't ruin your whole entire picture. Like, that's a massive key, like massive. Do tiny experiments. Prove what you want to do works. Financially, production wise, whatever all the pieces are that say, I want to do this, okay, but I have to, X, Y, and Z has to work for it to be a success. And it can be lots of stuff. Facebook is, well, I've got to get customers, to interact in here daily, whatever the thing it is you're trying to do, but you define the pieces, okay, of that world. You define what it is required for it to be a success instead of a failure. You write it down, you figure out how you can achieve those things, and then you go and you do a tiny little 1/10 or 1/20th sized version of that, and then you prove it. And now you've learned. Okay, so what's the difference between this big and this big? Lots of times there is no difference, except for if I go into something this big at the beginning and I fail, I've ruined everything I've got going on. But if I do something only this big and I fail, it's only 10% of whatever I've got going on, whether it be money or time or whatever. It's 10%. Can fail on that, can use that to learn and lever that up to the next one. And then you go from this size, then you go as big as you possibly can, because all the steps in between this and this and this and this and this and this are all pointless. What you need to know is how to do it at a tiny scale, and then go as big as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can, because time. We have 80 years or whatever the average lifespan is on this earth, okay? So you have no time to fuck around and fiddle fuck and mess up what you're doing. So you need to scale as quickly as possible. So fast forward, 2008 rolls around. Our clients quit because nobody's got money. Everybody's freaked out, just like COVID, because the financial crash happened. Real estate's going down, blah, blah, blah. And it's basically, an economic disaster. And so we take that as an opportunity, as always, and we pivot completely, as always. And we go, okay, well, we've got trucks, we've got money, we've got banks that will give us tons of money, we've got crew, we've got skills, we've got all the equipment to make a huge, not huge, but a nice size independent movie. To do it right, we have all the skills. We've learned the whole industry for 8 years, coming up through it and getting better and better at it. Let's go make a movie. So so 2008, 2009, I guess we basically just close up shop, everything we're doing, my brother and I and my dad, and we get a couple of RVs, and we go, and for a year we make our first movie with no backing on credit cards. Okay, total, complete potential failure. Now, is it crazy? Yeah, a lot of people say it's completely insane, but here's what I would say. When you put yourself in a position of total failure or total success, you will work 22-hour days, and I have, to make sure it's a success. So putting yourself on that knife edge, it's like going up to the top of the mountain and crossing the bridge that's 1 foot wide and it's 3,000 feet below you, and the wind starts blowing while you're crossing it. Okay, you put yourself in that position. I am going to die unless I succeed. Will drive a human being to do things they did not know they're capable of doing. And I've done that, more than once in my life. And I think that's a place that most people are too afraid to go. And so, being willing to go there, and then being willing to be responsible for the outcome of that, and then being willing to do what it takes to make sure it's not a failure. So fast forward, we do our first movie. We're living in an apartment. We're mixing the film literally in a garage, okay, like a rented garage in an apartment community. We got foam in there. We're doing all the sound effects. We're doing visual effects. We're going out at night from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. downtown and city, picking up all these shots, doing car action sequences, all this insane shit, okay, off the radar, completely, not with any authoritarian blessings, and just doing what we got to do to make this thing work, to make a kick-ass movie, because without a kick-ass movie, we're bankrupt, and we owe 12 banks, 3 family members, and we will have nothing to our name if we can't make it work. So go through that, get it done, survive it, get out the other side, go to Hollywood, make a kick-ass trailer that's absolutely legit, especially for having no background or experience, because we know marketing. If it can't sell it with a trailer, it's dead, period. Make a great trailer, get all this attention, freaking sell the movie, get worldwide distribution, make our money back. And, it's like, okay, I guess we have the skills and talent to make this happen. So we do that, come back, we do 4 more of them, but along the way, the projects keep getting bigger, because remember what I said, you start small and you got to go as big as you can. So the projects keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we can't raise capital for anything because it's too risky. So I start to, and this is after the crash, I start to do real estate as a hobby. Like literally, it's a hobby to raise cash, to do our creative projects, to grow our movies from, sub $1 million to $5, $6, $7 million movies. But we need the money to actually produce it. So we start doing real estate on the side and generating the equity in the projects, and then going to a bank, getting the money a line of credit out of the real estate, doing the movie, finishing it, selling it, paying the bank back, getting another piece of real estate, making that pile bigger, now getting another loan, bigger one, getting that money, doing the next project, and just keep just moving money like this all day long, doing these projects, and just never spending the equity, never living on anything but a meager small salary, so that the money can keep growing. And so by this time, we've become, by necessity, once again, like good investors in real estate as a hobby on the side. And so to fast forward, do our 4 movies, everything's going well. And then in 2016, 2017, we're getting pretty good at this side hustle, this real estate side hobby. What if we take a couple million this year, instead of doing, movie, why don't we just go do a big real estate? Like, let's remember here, let's go do a big one. So we look around for about 6 months, and there's still some opportunities in the real estate market from the crash. And we find apartment community. It's over 100 units. It's in really bad shape. We put the deal together. We say, okay, 2017, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna do something that, when we get finished with it, it will continue to pay us a check to live on until we either die or we sell it. We're gonna get some stability. So I go do that deal. I treat it like a movie. I run, multiple teams. I'm on it every single day, living on top of it for 8 months. And completely transforming what that is, making it from what looked like a piece of just crap, just garbage, to a really nice looking community, and doing roofing, siding, railings, asphalt. I mean, the whole exterior, making it refreshing. It had never been touched since the 70s. And 9 months later, I get an appraisal at, I think it was $12.6 million. Bought it for 6, put like $1 million into it.
Wow.
Okay. At that point, I knew there was probably nothing else that we would be involved in for quite a while, because in 8 months, I just made almost $6 million, and it was way, way, way easier than Hollywood. And I can refinance it, get my money back out of it. I can get extra $1 million or $2 million out of it if I want to on the refi. It's still going to cash flow. The rent's still going to pay my bills. And so it's just the most beautiful vehicle I'd ever seen. So that's pretty much what led us to big real estate and successes there. And so we just took that. Along the way before that, I was actually buying single family houses. So we did single family houses, and then we did a bank foreclosed 20 unit apartment community, not apartments, it's like townhomes. And then we did a bigger portfolio of single families, and we were selling that all along the way as we would create more value in it. And then it led to the big one, and then the big one led to the next big one, which is a deal that I have in Texas that I'm renovating right now, doing the same exact thing. So that's kind of what brings us to where we are today. Our portfolio is north of 30 million. I'm going to do 6 transactions this year. They're all going to be over 8 figures, every last one of them. We're banking. We're our net equity value is like 15 million bucks now. So, it's this. There is no secret other than being good at learning how to do something well, right?
Right.
And always biasing towards the wins. Take the losses, make them small. They're always going to be there. Make them small. Use them as schooling. Losses are school. Wins are to be biased towards. You keep biasing towards the wins over and over, inch by inch. You keep growing that direction, and don't stray too far from it. And you eventually end up, somewhere that you're trying to go. And that's basically what we've done. And we're just getting started.
$30 million portfolio, and you're just getting started.
Just barely scratching the surface. Haven't even gotten up to the racetrack start line yet, buddy. Not even close. It's so big. This world is so big. It's just insane.
Yeah. So obviously you weren't avoiding risk the whole time, like throughout your whole professional career? It was all just
No.
about risk management. That's what I'm
Yeah.
getting out of it. So you were just taking small risks so that you weren't throwing away, like you weren't betting your life savings on like one project at a time, but
Exactly.
it's all
Yep.
about risk management more.
It's totally risk management. It's what we call making gigantic risk moves that are highly vetted and understood to where 90 to 99%, if you do this gigantic risk, it's going to win. It's all about running it backwards, right? So you run everything backwards that you're doing. You say, I want to get to this goal. Okay. But what does this goal actually require once I'm there? Like, can I figure out what that goal requires? So in the movies, it requires a great script. It should be an action movie. It should have names in it. It should be a certain length. It should be a certain pace. It should have a certain kind of music, a certain kind of box cover. It should have a certain kind of trailer. It should have a certain kind of editing. The lighting needs to be a certain way. Like all these elements, you have to know what they are, right? And then you got to go and you go, okay, but if I do all those elements in production, well, what else do I need to know? Well, I need to know who the distributor is. I need to know how much they pay for movies, how much they pay for stars, how much how much are TV rights, how much are international rights, how much is theatrical, what's the chances of getting theatrical, who are the players in the industry, what are the players that scam you, what are the players that pay you, what are who are the agents that have the stars, why do the stars want to be in your movie, how do you attract the stars? Like there's literally hundreds of variables, right? So it's your job to go figure out the hundreds of variables on your exit, on the where you're going, figure out all those variables up there to where you're like, I know I'm gonna make mistakes getting there. But 90% to 99%, I know what's needed up there once I get there to make that not a failure, right? And so you do that, and then you come back to where you are and you go, okay, so I feel like I'm pretty much got this in control up here where I'm going. I pretty much know it. I know I don't know all of it. I know I don't know what I don't know, right? But I've talked to enough people. I've done enough months of research, ran enough numbers, been involved, watched, sat in on, whatever. I've learned that world, right? I'm not there, but I've learned that world because I've taken the time to do that. Then you come back to where you are right here and you go, okay, to get to that world, I'm right here and it's a pathway to get there, right? And that pathway is going to be full of fucking rocks, ledges, piles of shit, haters, cheaters, liars, mistakes, failures, unseen circumstances. I mean, any negative you want to use, it's going to be strewn. Okay? It's going to be a minefield. So you expect the minefield. But you say, here I am. Here's where I'm going to be. I understand what's going on up there. Understand where I am now. Then you start putting the pieces together, and you could do it backwards. Like I like to do it backwards and forwards. Like, okay, so we need this, and then we need that, 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 and then this, and then of course that's going to go wrong. So what's plan B, C, and D over here, and then that, and then B, C, and D over here, and then that, and then B, C, and D over here, and then that, and then eventually you map out the plan, right, in your mind and on paper, spreadsheets, teams, whatever, and then you say, this is where we're going to go. This is what we need to get there, and this is what the expected outcome is. And you go, the expected outcome is going to be maybe as bad as 50% as good as I think it will be, or I hope it will be. So at a 50% success rate up here at the end, okay, what do I need resource-wise to get from here to there, right? Not for 100%. Not say I'm going to get 100 grand up here, so I'm going to spend 50 to get there. I'm going to get 50 grand up here, right? So how can I make 25 grand work to get from here to there? I'm talking monetarily only right now, right? Like only money, like that's what it's going to take. So you back that success way down, way down, 50%, 30%, whatever your discount is that you feel 100% good about. And you say, okay, if I only sell it for 50,000 and I've only spent 25 to get there with all the potholes and all the plan Bs and all the plan Cs and all the bullshit and all the setbacks, I've won. Okay, I've won the race of capitalism through production to get from A to be.
So you're
And
just
when you do that, let me tell you what happens when you do that. To the outside world, you're now a genius, because almost everything you do and touch becomes a success. Because you discounted it, you figured it out, and you planned for all the potholes plus 5 or 6 more that you didn't even think of, and you got to where you're going. It's about the journey from here to here, figuring out the cost from here to here in time, money, teams, personal relationships, all that, discounting the shit out of it, building the team, expecting the potholes, expecting the failures, and not quitting.
Yeah, so you're just reverse engineering everything, every move you make, and deciding based off that, looking at that one goal, that one astronomical number or whatever it has to be, and then reverse engineering that. Yeah, that's
totally,
it
100%. I mean, it's the only way that I see that you can really do it. I mean, I haven't yet to see any entrepreneur that doesn't really do it that way. And they're always, the thing about so many entrepreneurs is they'll give you like little pieces. They'll give you keys. They'll give you like, just, this is my secret. This is my key to success. There is no key to success. That's complete. That's fiction. It doesn't exist. What there is a curious mind that sets itself like an athlete, that I will do this no matter what. I'm curious, therefore I can ask questions, therefore I can find answers, therefore I can learn. Once I can learn and I'm humble, I can now execute.
right. So when I want to dig into like the film industry part of it a little bit. So a lot of the film industry, you can correct me if I'm wrong. My older brother is into the film industry, so I want to like ask these questions to figure out, but a lot of it's networking, right? So it's a lot of the film industry is just who you know. So how did you get better at that, and how did you expand off of that and use that as a a force in the real estate industry as well? Because obviously I think they both kind of play into each other, right?
Okay, so I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm gonna explode it right now.
All right.
There's nothing to do with who you know. Zero. It has to do with exactly what I was just talking about where you're going and knowing how to build from here to there.
Right.
Because the reality is everybody knows somebody, and if you don't know how to build it, you're not going to do anything. This is production. This is making something brand new. It doesn't matter if it's Tesla, if it's a projector, a painting, a laptop. It doesn't matter what it is. This industry respects and pays for people that have skills, people that have knowledge, and people that can execute. Okay? So I knew nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I showed up with a kick-ass trailer, and I drug behind me a movie that actually worked, that was actually well lit, well shot, well directed, great music, good solid acting, a decent enough script, good locations. The concept was on point, had the action elements where it needed to. It had the timing of the whole edit with the suspense, and then everything musically timed out the way it needed to. It was not great, okay? But for an outsider, it was good enough, and they could sell it. I showed up in Hollywood with something that somebody else could make money off of. That's what matters.
Right.
Period.
Right. So
you got to show up with something that somebody else can make money off of. And if you don't show up with something that they can make money off of, then you need to show up with a skill. You got it. They can make money off of.
that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Simple as that. It's total capitalism. It's ruthless. It is ruthless capitalism out there. It is ruthless capitalism. And I say that because there's very, very few people that control all the distribution, and they get together, they hang out, they know everybody, And this gives the illusion it's who you know because it's a small, tight group. But what it really is a few guys that control all the money. So if you show up in town without something that makes them money, they will never talk to you. And they'll tell their friends never to talk to you. That's how it works. But when you show up with something they can make money on, they'll certainly be there to rip you off.
Right.
It's just as fast as a used car dealer in, South Side, I don't know where.
Yeah. So I want to get your like take on capitalism. You say ruthless capitalism, and I know you're pro-capitalist, but I want you to expand on like what you mean by by a term like ruthless capitalism, because I think like a younger generation like mine, capitalism has a terrible rep. Like everyone loves to bash capitalism every chance that they get.
Yeah, it's really, really sad. And I think the guys did Undercover Billionaire because they're feeling that too. And they just think it's just horrendously bad that it's got this bad like vibe because it's how somebody who wants to succeed actually can, like anywhere in the world. It's absolutely beautiful. It's not communistic in the way of, we can all pat each other on the back and give each other, a fake award, because it actually rewards you when you're good. So if you suck, yeah, well, maybe you should stop sucking. Maybe you should get good. It's that simple. Like maybe you really should actually stop sucking, get good, man up, and let's go do something. I invite competition. Dude, bring it. If you want to compete with me on real estate or whatever, bring it. I would love to see some real competition. I would love to see some guys that were 25 years old that were killing it. Dude, that's going to get me up in the morning. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's beat it. Like, this is capitalism. It's gorgeous. I'm rewarded, okay? I am rewarded for providing you something that you like, something that you need. And the more of yous that I can provide that, the more reward I'm going to get. It's so simple, and anybody can do it. Despite what everybody says, anybody can do it because I have no formal education on it. Didn't even know what an investor was, and I was acting out as an investor at 20 years old because I had to survive. Didn't even know what the term meant. Didn't know what ROI was. Didn't know what ROE is. Didn't know what return meant. Didn't know anything. Okay, but I'm out in those at the lowest level, having to do it to grind up to build a dream that is real, that anybody could get. And I always thought that way. I always thought anybody can get this dream because I've never separated myself from anybody else I've ever known. I don't know why. I just born that way. I see somebody, I go, they're doing it. I could totally do it. I mean, they might be better than me forever or a long time, or maybe I'll never quite get that good, but I could definitely do what they're doing. And so when you have that mindset and you're dropped into capitalism, you're like, dude, this is amazing. I mean, here's the problem. Let me tell you what the problem is right now. Like 100%, this is what the issue is. There is no education on capitalism. I literally cannot, now that I know how finance works and how putting together deals work and how the whole infrastructure of capitalism works from the very top to the bottom, it makes me throw up that there's no education. Like nobody I know can I even just have a conversation with about dealing with money, making money, building investments, building your future, securing your future so you're not broke when you're 80. Like all these basic survival skills, and it's not taught whatsoever. That's a crime. I'm gonna say that's a crime because here's why. It's a crime to hold that from somebody as a piece of knowledge. What they do with it, hey, bring it. I'll compete. I'll bust ass. If you don't and you have the knowledge, that's on you, buddy. Like straight up, that's on you. But if you have the knowledge, okay, and you're hungry and you want to do it and you want to compete, you should have the right to have that. You should have the right because it's a right to survival. Understanding capitalism is a right to survival, and then you become okay at it. Then you become better at it, and maybe you eventually become a ninja at it. You become a world-class athlete at it. Right now, I'm regional level, like because it's so huge. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can do it. You could start a $1 billion company, from your laptop if you put the pieces together in the right way, just like all the guys in Silicon Valley did. And they're not sucking up everything. Like the rich people are not sucking up everything. Okay, that's a bullshit myth. Because if you go out there today and you invent and you think and you use your brain to be creative and ask questions and say, this is a problem, okay, and I'm going to solve it, dude, Zuckerberg, he can't compete with that. You're giving billions of people something that he's not. So somebody who brought him up and gave him the money is going to give you the money. It's a problem of like self-worth, of like, am I willing to step up to the plate and play the game? The problem is people don't even know how to play the game, man. It's terrible.
Yeah,
I think that's why it has gotten such a bad rap, because it's like everybody's become networked, and so they're all echo chambering off each other, and negativity travels faster than positivity, right? So what we need to do is all the people that are successful or are in the race, are just starting out, like where I am, where, whoever, Zuckerberg, whoever, all these guys, we're all doing it. We need to be expressing what we're doing instead of hiding behind our corporation. And we need to be showing guys, dude, this is how I did it. This is how you can do it. This is the game rules. This is how it works. This is how you stack equity. This is how you build the empire. Like, it's very simple, but when you don't know, you don't know. And so then you start hating, right? Because you feel like you can't get ahead. So, I mean, that's my take. I'm pretty passionate on that problem. I think it's horrendously terrible that there's no real schooling and real teaching of what it actually takes to actually ABCD become financially stable, financially literate, and financially successful in your life. And dude, you can do it in 4 years. I shit you not. That's where I'm at. I'm like 5 years into real estate hardcore, and look at what's happening.
Right. Yeah, I think everyone just wants to take that nice route. Like, they want to hear something nice, like, oh, like socialism sounds really nice to everybody. Like, when you just hear the first like concepts of it, right? Like, everybody gets a bed, everybody gets food, everybody gets healthcare, and it sounds awesome. But then like you have to look at the real life consequences of it. And
There's only five countries that use socialism. Of all those hundreds of countries in the world, only 5, and most of them are shitholes.
Yeah. So capitalism like gives maneuverability, so like anybody can do it. Like anybody can step up and compete with Jeff Bezos or
dude,
Zuckerberg.
I get up. Yes. And that is 100% true. I get up every morning. I'm like, what can I do today? What can I build? What can I achieve? And my goals just keep getting higher and higher and higher. Dude, I am going right to $1 billion company. That's my goal. I may not get there. I may get there. I probably might actually get there if I really stay at it. Probably will happen. But that's my goal. Not 100 million, not 50 million, not 20 million, not 5 million in the bank. $1 billion company. Me, Obin Olson, little old nobody that came from $1,800 and an old car, okay, and a girlfriend who had to duke it out in the streets of America for survival in order to learn investing and capitalism. That's where I'm trying to go.
Hell yeah. That's really inspiring just to hear about. What would you say is the biggest reason for like a lack of education and like financial literacy? Like, is it our school systems? Is it, what do you think would solve that problem? Like, what do you think should happen to improve all of our like education?
So that's a question that I haven't really 100% answered, because to answer it, I would have to find the actual root of the cause of the issue of the lack of the education, right? And right. I don't really know what the root is for the lack of the education, but what I do know is fixing it is not very hard. Like, it's really pretty easy. It's like have a class on financial literacy, the basics, the basics of capitalism, like how many deals, okay, if I gave you 500 bucks right now, how many deals would you have to flip that 500 and make 100% every time? So 500 turns into 1,000, 1,000 turns into 2,000, et cetera, right? How many times did you have to do that to get to $1 million bucks? Nobody can answer that. Nobody has any idea. They don't think that way in their head. It's the world's simplest concept. You'll agree, I'll agree, but nobody knows. Well, I can tell you it's like under 20 times. So you're 20 moves away from $1 million, whoever you are. So the argument is, yeah, man, but you can't do, so the hustler argument, the guys that are kind of in the game is like, yeah, man, but you can't do that. I mean, you're never going to make 100% on every flip, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, fine, right? You're right, 100%, you're right. But let me just come back to the point. I said less than 20 moves to make $1 million. So maybe you can't do that on all 20 and you make 50% on one, 20 on one, 30 on another, 200 on one. Maybe it takes you, oh my God, 100 moves. Dude, it's still like, it's a number. It's not very many transactions.
Right.
It's attainable.
Yeah. It's just compounding all those actions, right?
Yeah, right.
So to transition, I want to talk about like your success ingredients to life. Like when you're talking about, risk management and persistence over time and all the things you've been able to accomplish, like what ingredients had to go into that to reach the level that you're at now and like keep climbing higher?
Yeah, so I think about it a lot, like breaking down what it actually is. And it comes down to like a few things. Of course, I'm not going to remember them all right now, but just go over kind of the biggies, right? Capitalistic financial success comes from providing somebody else something of value, okay, that they're willing to pay you more for it, right, than it costs you to make it, whether that's service, product, whatever it is. It's a very, very simple game. So you start with that, right? They're willing to pay me, if they find it valuable, more than it costs me to make it. Therefore, I'm going to make a profit. Therefore, I'm going to gain some of your money. You're going to give it to me. And I'm going to make a way to survive. Okay. But here's the trick. Once you find that skill set, right? And you could be working for somebody else, doesn't matter, or you could go out and do something yourself. It's totally irrelevant. But it's once you are up to the plate and you have found a way to provide value for somebody else, what happens is, and this is the lack of education, and it's kind of, if we all did it, society would actually kind of suck. Be more like it is in Europe. But here's what happens. I make the $100 from the skill set or the product or whatever it is I make for other people, that they give me that profit. I make that $100, okay? And the average person does that through a paycheck, probably, because there's way more people that work than there are people that own stuff. And they take that and they turn around and they use it for a lifestyle, okay? They value the money that comes in as a lifestyle and a status, okay? And what happens when that happens is other people, okay, like BMW, Audi, Chanel, Gucci, Levi's, build products, right? And market and advertise products, right? That say, hey, Mr. Joe, you just made that $100, okay? And you want that lifestyle? I've got this little product over here. Dude, it's I guarantee you through my marketing, it shows you're wealthier, it shows you're cooler, it shows you're more successful, it gives you that little hit. What's that hit we're looking for? Status, baby, status. I can feel it. I'm gonna get it. I got a raise. $6,000, $8,000. I can get that BMW, baby. I'm balling. Okay. Here's the problem with that picture. As soon as you do this, with that cash and you get that BMW, okay, you're right back to the grind over here to get that next 100 to give it to, guess who? The guy that makes the BMW, who ain't doing your game, or Gucci or Coke or whoever. They ain't playing your game. You're taking the money that you earned and you're giving it straight to somebody else who's probably financially literate, who's probably financially astute, who's probably an entrepreneur, who knows if he takes your $100 and spends it on his lifestyle, his empire, and his wealth isn't going to get any bigger. So he takes that $100, puts it back into research and development, makes a better, shinier, sexier BMW to give to you to get your money again, or reinvest it in real estate or whatever other assets, other things that we can own in this universe that make us money, that don't take our money, but they make us money. So 99% grow up on TV and go to school. School doesn't have any financial literacy whatsoever unless you take special classes to go be a banker or whatever. And TV and advertising shows you a life that's a style that costs you money the higher you get. So the higher you get, the more income you have, the more you're spending on the bullshit, and you're going exactly nowhere. Okay? Because tomorrow, when you wake up and you're sick as shit and you can't afford to pay the bills and pay the BMW and pay the fucking house note and pay for all the crap, you're broke. Dead fucking broke. Can't get up tomorrow, get hit in the head, eyeball shot, can't speak. I mean, there's a million things every day could happen that can stop you from being able to earn tomorrow. And the moment you do, you are broker than a guy under a bridge with a tent. So to break that circle is to break the consumer society. And let's go back to what I said. So the problem with that is if everybody did what I'm saying, there would be very little spending, okay? There would be way less economic activity, and so we would be probably earning less and not able to, like, it would out of balance the whole system, right? If everybody was 100%, grade A entrepreneur level, didn't spend on a damn thing and just was out there creating stuff, like there'd be nobody to create for, right? Because they wouldn't want anything you made. It would be like a broken wheel. It wouldn't work at all. So my point is, in this system as it is right now, there's massive arbitrage and massive opportunity for people like me or you that want to learn to become an entrepreneur, to get on top and get ahead of it and get out of it. And there's room for everyday Joe to get financially literate enough to say, man, I got 6 coming in every month. It doesn't mean I need to spend 6 going out every month. I could live on 4, okay? Live on 4 and spend all that, keep BMW and entrepreneurs and everybody making the money and the world going around and me getting my stuff, because, like, why do it? Might as well live in a tent if you can't buy some stuff for fun after working hard, right? So you keep that going, but you don't use 100% of your money, right? You use a portion of your money. You become a fucking disciplined human being. You grow up and you say, I know Uncle Sammy's not going to have my back. Mommy's not going to have my back. Grandma's certainly not going to have my back. And my kids are probably not going to have my back. So I need to learn discipline and financial systems and planning and the concepts, okay, of investing. Because once you learn that, over a long period of time, you can still live that life. You can still work all the time. You can still make that wage. But if you're over here hustling on the side, right, and you're investing in stuff that doesn't turn to dirt tomorrow, because we all know the BMW in 10 years is literally worth $1,500 and you just paid 80 for it, okay? So when you're over here buying stuff like real estate, businesses, things that don't turn to dirt, I mean, for God's sake, even buy gold, okay? At least it just stays. You're not losing. Like everything you buy, this turns to dirt, this turns to dirt, this turns to dirt, this turns to dirt. Hell, my body turns to dirt. Okay. Mm-hmm. But there's a few things in society you can buy that don't turn to dirt. That's when I started to realize The game of entrepreneurialism, the game of investing is the only way out of the rat race. It's the only way out of constantly doing this, getting it in, shoveling it out, having the status, having the life. And at the end of the day, if I got sick for a day, I'd be broke. And when you realize if I'm sick for a day and I would be broke, you start to go, there has to be another way. And like around 2000, I don't know, 3 or 4, I realized that because I was doing production, I was making a living, I was doing all this stuff. I had been reinvesting to get my business bigger, but it was still a wheel. And I was like, there's a lot of really not super bright people out there that I know who are super rich. So there's a way to fucking do this. I can do it. I'm at least as smart as they are. And I got on Google and I said, I am going to learn to become a wealthy human being financially, whatever it takes. I'm sure it's on Google. And it, sure enough, yep, it was on Google. And that was way back before videos and all this stuff. Now there's a zillion bloggers. There's a zillion people talking about it. And back then I figured it out. I Googled it. And I remember a pie chart I saw one time. It was like 70% of all millionaires are made in real estate, and the rest of them are all the other industries. Every little niche combined was everybody else is a millionaire. All these millionaires over here in real estate. I said, okay, do I have a passion or love for real estate? I call it shitters, shingles, and sheetrock. No, but I have a passion for what it does for people, what it did for me, what it will do for my investors. It's incredible. Okay. And so I use that as a vehicle. It's simply a vehicle. It's like a black box. And once you start getting up and like understanding how all this stuff works, like a McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or a piece of real estate or a tire and lube shop, all they are, dude, is black boxes. Okay, think about it. You probably render stuff in video, right? I don't know if you play games or whatever, but you know what a GPU is. You know how you have to render things before they're finished, right?
Right.
Or a team does a bunch of coding. It's a bunch of rendering. It's a bunch of getting from A to B, but it's doing it inside of a black box. So financially, all these franchises that all these entrepreneurs own that look like they own the world and, you know, people hate them because of it. They've simply figured out a way to put a small team together, provide value for the society that lives around that team, put that team in a box, okay, and hit the switch, turn it on. Set up rules inside of that black box, a manager, a cook, a this, a that, tell them what to do, tell them what there is to be expected, give them a handbook, you know, give them all the rules to the game of what the game they're playing there is, and then pay them enough money so they'll stay there and they'll do it. They are rendering an entrepreneur value in society while he goes and builds another one, another one, another one, another one, another one. And there's tons of games inside of doing that as an entrepreneur that you play to multiply, right, without even having to bring in your own extra money that you can play, like in real estate, like buy one house, fix it up, which increases the value of it, go back to a bank, get a new loan on it that gives you all the money back out that you have in it, but you still own it, and put a renter in it that makes you money. That's the simplest form in the world of multiplication of value, not based off of me at all, but multiplication of value based off what I do to a asset that isn't going down in value all the time. It's naturally going up slowly. I find it, I fix it. Okay, it's got issues, it's worth less. It's got issues, it's worth less. Chick-fil-A, if it has issues, it's going to be worth less because everything is the value of everything in the world that has income, okay, has a set value to it. So when it's underperforming and it's not doing the numbers it should, it doesn't have the customers, for whatever reason, whoever's running it is fucking it up, it now has less value. So as an entrepreneur, you look around society and you say, how can I provide value in the biggest quantity I can possibly get my hands around? Mm-hmm. And you find assets like that. And you say, well, this one's underperforming. I can make it perform, you know, double, 30% more, whatever it is. And as soon as you do that and you go back to market to sell it, somebody else will pay you way more money because you provided value to them. It's all a value. It's a value game. It just goes like this from person to person. I give you something, you take that something, you run it to the ground. It's now worth less. Somebody else comes in over here, buys it from you, puts some energy into it, uses some effort, fixes it up, makes it make more income. Now it's worth more. Now this guy sells it to the other guy, and all it is going around like this in circles. People dealing with stuff and inventing things. It's really simple.
Right.
But if you don't have this education, you just see, oh my God, corporate America owns everything. Fuck these guys. I want to be a communist. Like a little crybaby instead of playing a fun game. It's amazing. Start with Monopoly, dude. If they would just teach Monopoly, people would understand it.
Yeah, totally. Because I think what a lot of people have like that disconnect is like these people, like when you're looking at, you know, Jeff Bezos or McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's is a real estate corporation. And when you look at it, like when you look at the numbers, like they make all their money just off real estate. But you look at these guys and you're like, how did they get so rich? How do they do this and that? It's because like they're helping more and more people. Like the more people you help, the more value you're going to create for them. And then you just receive a portion of that back. Like that's,
I mean, so in reality, you could take money out of the equation. You could just say, hey man, I've got this business over here, you know, I'm gonna give it to you. You're gonna take it and you're gonna make it be more useful to society. And now the next guy's gonna be like, man, you know, I'll trade you, you know, 2 more businesses over here for that one, because that one's is you're providing more usefulness to society. You could literally take money completely out of it, and you could just play the game with assets and businesses and stuff without any cash at all, and just be like, well, that guy over there has like 50, you know, pieces of this game. You know, I think communism's better. Well, he played the game, dude. He figured out how to trade. He just traded value. Okay, so now it's not even capitalism anymore. It's just trading value. Like it's the same thing. Just the money's in the middle. The money's like, hey, I need an instrument to like give it to you, so you can give it to the next guy, so you can give it to the next guy, and that we have something we holding on to like make it go around. Because otherwise, like, what is my value? Well, I think I should give you 2 businesses for year 1. Well, the next guy's like, well, I think I should give you 1.5. Like, where's the? You need a tangible, right? You need to like base it on, well, it's got this much income, you know, minus its expenses. So therefore it's worth this much. I'm willing to pay for it. Like, okay, here's an example. I'm going to buy a small business, right? I'm going to pay, you know, 4 times what it makes a year. So that means I'm going to own it for 4 years before it actually makes a profit. And the same thing in a real estate deal. Well, maybe it's 12 times. I'm going to pay you 12 times what it makes in a year. So that means it's going to take me 12 years before I start getting profit from it. Okay, why? What's the difference? The difference is this is a business. It has a higher risk and more likely to fail, and it doesn't have an underlying building on an underlying piece of dirt that's real, that's tangible, that is not going to go away no matter what happens to the business inside the real estate. That real estate and that building aren't going away. So therefore, this guy is willing to pay 12 times what it's making for it, instead of 4 for a naked business that all it is intellectual property, somebody's idea. I want to cut dog's hair. Like, okay, what's the value? The value is my customer list. That's it. Like, how easy is that to make it grow or disappear overnight? It's not real. The customer list. Oh, we lost it. Sorry, man, we don't have it anymore. Now the business has no value. So it's all based on the value of everything in the world. And so that's the game that I play. I play the value game. So I find things are undervalued and I fix them. I increase the value. It's dumb simple, dude. That's why I said there's so many guys in the beginning. I was like, I'm brighter than them. Why are they millions of dollars ahead of me? Because it's not taught. Because I didn't grow up with that. Because my family didn't figure it out. And then generation after generation hand down the basic concepts of don't overspend, save, invest, and create value for other people, create value in assets, sell them to other people when they've created the value, go buy other ones that are in worse condition, or build new ones that have never been done. Zuckerberg, all those guys, he built it. Dude, I use him all the time to market. I need it. He's giving me value. He's one of the richest guys in the world because he gives everybody value. He deserves it. That's capitalism. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So when you're looking at like undervalued assets, like what do what does that process look like for you? Like say you're spotting a real estate deal. I mean, obviously you have to break down the numbers, but then like when you're talking about like the people you work with and the people like you want to make deals with, like how do you judge who's trustworthy, who's not trustworthy, or do you just have to like learn that along the way? Do you just have to like
No, you don't trust you don't trust anybody at all. You never trust somebody. What you trust is math and markets. Okay? You can drop me into any city in America, okay? And in 5 minutes, anywhere, I can tell you what basic valuations are for stuff around me. Okay, because I know markets and I know the math on how to turn the market into a valuation of what it's worth, how many people are around it, what they're paying right now, what their incomes are, all the pieces that exist of big data. I can do that quickly and I can do it efficiently, and therefore I can find arbitrage. I can find a difference. He's selling it for this and it's worth this. Now, how much do I have to do to get it to here? A lot, a little? And what's the cost going to be from here to get it there? And if those numbers work and I come out with a percentage that's going to make a good financial decision, then I buy it. It's that simple.
No, that makes sense. So you're looking at like macro and judging off that. So I want to ask this question just based on current times, because we're probably in the worst economy that we've ever been in, but yet the real estate market is at like an all-time high.
Yep.
So how do you judge like what moves to make next? Do you even worry about that, or are you just like, full force ahead, like just control what you can control? Like if the market crashes, I'm just gonna go in anyways. Like,
I'm not looking to go bankrupt.
well, yeah, but you get what I'm saying, because I mean, I don't understand the disconnect right now. Also, I'm very inexperienced. Like I don't know a whole lot about real estate.
So here's the deal, right? Markets go up, markets go down, markets go sideways, markets go up, markets go down, markets go sideways. That's never going to change. Here's how you make sure that you're not on the upside down part of it. If I'm buying a piece of property, and let's just call it $100,000. I'm paying $100,000 for it, right? But it's worth 150 in today's market. When I fix it, I've just created that buffer for me. So I buy it, I spend a little bit of money to fix it. It's now worth 150. For me to go bankrupt, it has to go all the way down, right, to where I bought it, plus the little bit of money I put in to fix it. So it's like here, right? And then it would have to lose that much value before I was actually even starting to be in trouble. So as long as you keep this spread as far as apart as you can, in the market conditions you have to deal with, you're always looking for that huge spread. That means you're always buying below the market, right? So if you buy below the market, you can rent below the market. So that means you can beat the other guys that paid too much yesterday and they can go bankrupt, right? Yeah. And the value has to drop that much before you're even in trouble. So now when the market does go down, if it does go down temporarily, which it's always temporarily, you're not going to have to worry about that problem. But on the other hand, when you go out and you buy something at market rate, let's say it's at the top of the market, and you're paying too much for it, and then you put a little bit of money into it, dude, you got no room for error. It's plan B, plan C, plan D, right? So the way you mitigate that is always buying a deal as much as you can. Now, you can't always buy a deal in every scenario. You're not going to always hit a major home run. It's 50% off. Like, that is not realistic. That's my goal, is hitting something that's, at least 30% off, but it doesn't always happen. So the way you mitigate that is you have a shitload of it, and then you average it out. So when you have enough of it and you average it out, your average is always a good price. Then this one, rent goes down a little bit, but this one makes up for it. This one right here does something else, that one makes up for it. And you have enough and you're diversified. Because if you own the whole market, if you actually owned all the real estate in the country, right? Theoretically, if you could own all of it, and you bought some of it way too high, and some of it wherever, and some of it yesterday, and some of it tomorrow, and some of it 3 years ago, and 10 years ago, and 20 years ago, dude, it's all being paid down by the entrepreneurs that are using it and the people that are paying you a value proposition to live in it who need a roof. It's always being paid down all the time. So over time, you're always going to win in real estate unless a major disaster happens where everybody leaves the city. Okay, that's like the worst case scenario that could happen is literally, Dallas disappears, which at that point, dude, I'm throwing in the towel. Like, I don't even care if it gets that bad. So the idea is you buy below market, you have that cushion that's short term, and then you wait, and over time, that note is being paid down, the mortgage that you have on it's being paid down to zero. So if I buy a $100,000 property, right, and I put 25% down, that's $25,000 I put down. That means $75,000 I'm getting from somebody else. That somebody else is the bank. They're going to give me that money in a loan. I'm going to pay them for the value of money, right? I'm going to pay them a profit for it, for giving it to me. Thank you very much, Mr. Banker. Now, 75K, 25K. That makes up the whole pot. Every year, that 75K gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller over time. And so even if the market goes down a little bit, you're still creating wealth inside of the asset because it's being paid down. The money that you borrowed from Mr. Banker is being paid down over time. So I'll give you an example. I bought a bad deal. My second deal was a bad deal. I bought at the very, very peak of 2008. Okay, a single family house to rent it out. It crashed immediately within a couple of months. Worst crash we've seen in probably 100 years. Okay, $167,000 purchase. All right. So what am I doing? I'm going, okay, I'm going to rent it out. I've got the financing under control. I've got a loan on it. It's $700 a month or something for the loan. I can rent it for $900, so I'm renting it out. Mm-hmm. I'm making $200 a month, and it's now worth way less than I paid for it. Why do I care? I only care if I sell it.
Right.
I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to wait. So I wait and 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 I wait. And last year I sold it. The note was paid down like $45,000, and the property was back up above where I started. So the moral to real estate is you can make a bad decision in real estate, but it's always healed with enough time. As long as it's a cash flow rental property that somebody else, either an entrepreneur of the business or a human being that needs to live there, is being provided a decent, clean place, service for them. You're providing them value. They're giving you money. You're paying the bank off, which is putting money in your bank by paying the bank off because it's money you didn't have to start with in the first place, right? So you use their money to grab the asset, and then you paid their money back off to them. So now you're left with an asset with nothing on it that you owe to them. So now you made money. Simple. And that's how it works. And that's why wealth is built so, I wouldn't say easily, but so simply, right. In this game, because the real estate game is set up better than any other game, I think, in the world for an entrepreneur. And I don't really know why that is. It goes back to like, that was the only game in town in probably the 1700s or whatever. So they set it up right. But it's financial picture, the way it works, the way it pays itself down, the way it goes up over time. And these are all slow processes. You're not going to get rich quick investing in real estate, but I can guarantee you that 5 years ago, I did not have $14 million. I accelerated what's possible in real estate by being very aggressive, right? Doesn't mean you have to, but if you buy a couple houses today in 15, 20 years, well, even if it doesn't go up, if you paid $150 each, you're going to have $300,000 in 20 years, guaranteed, as long as you rent it out. That's like worst case. Then look at it going up all the time. So you're paying down what you owe on it, which is building your wealth, and it's going up all the time. Even if it has bumps, it's always over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, always going up. So it's always increasing in value, which is increasing your wealth that you're not working for, right? And people are using it or decreasing what you owe on it. So now you've got two sources of income. It's like a tidal wave. It just rolls at you. You know, I did a calculation. My property is making $1 million a year behind the scenes in appreciation.
Wow.
$1 million. I can't touch it. It's forced. It's like a forced 401k that I can't even touch. So I don't even know is there. I just know it's happening. And even if I wanted to buy a Ferrari with it, I can't. It's perfect. It forces the idiots to become wealthy. So that's why I'm like, dude, throw your money in it. Like, period. Like, I mean, you know, dude, I did 22-hour days in Hollywood. Okay, I did 22-hour days busting my ass. And I woke up one day, I said, for the amount of tenacity, follow through, dedication, grind, and competitiveness that I contain, and I'm not making this work, I need to move to an industry where I can. I need to move to an industry where there's no 10 guys that control distribution, where there's no corporation that has all the delivery routes, where there's no, you know, Zuckerbergs that will just, you know, stomp me out with some code. Like, I need a place as an entrepreneur, a home. I need a little blanket, something I can be happy in. And I looked around and I literally made a conscious decision because I was like, dude, I could do a deal with anybody. I could do a deal with Trump. I could do a deal with you. I can do a deal with anybody at any level in real estate. It is still true capitalism, what it was meant to be. The beauty of it still exists in real estate, which is, I want to do something. If I put in the effort, I put in the grind, I can do it, and I can create wealth out of thin air with hard work and using the right tools and playing the game the right way. And there's nobody, no government entity, no big dog player, nobody can stop me. And that is one of the greatest things about real estate. Is it's still person to person. It's still just, it's the Wild West, man. It's the Wild West still. And there's so many things that are not like that do tend to make it hard. You know, they make it harder than it should be for an entrepreneur, because these big entrepreneurs do try to control, you know, they try to control markets, and Hollywood does. I mean, so in hindsight, I was like, okay, you know, now that I know what I know, what could I have done in Hollywood to really kick its ass, right? Like, okay, I got it now. So I would go out there first. I would set up a distribution company. I would get other people's films for cheap, keep the pricing down. I would start selling them worldwide, get a huge flow of that going. I'd get some bankers involved to give me a whole bunch of money so I could buy way more movies than everybody else. And then I would get market control, blah, blah, blah. I could set up all these pieces and I could dominate. I could crush that game. Right? But now I'm thinking about it, okay, as an entrepreneur, not as a creator, not as an artist. I'm thinking about it as a business person. And so if you don't understand business ahead of time, then you're going to get destroyed as an artist, as a creator, as a coder, as a whoever, because the guys like me that understand how this game works, okay, need everybody else to survive and play the game and get bigger and bigger. So if you learn capitalism first, and you learn entrepreneurial skills first, and you learn how the actual game works first, then you can build the pyramid the right way. Okay, I built my pyramid upside down in the beginning. What do I mean by that? It's an upside down pyramid. I'm doing the things that are cool and fun and sexy and creative and use my brain up here and trying to make that sustain my life. And it's going like this. Okay? Flip the pyramid.
There's no base to it.
Flip the pyramid, set it down, get good at finance, business, entrepreneurialism, and building things that have value. Understand the value chain, understand all the things I understand now. Go make your life totally secure, you know, to the point where you own multiple businesses, multiple real estate and all that. Guess what? All the creative fun stuff after that can happen on something that isn't going to topple. It's not going to turn over. So I tell people, like, I have no regrets because I got to where I am now and I'm not 80 years old. However, if I had a regret, it would be that I built it this way first and I didn't take care of my financial understanding and my financial education in the beginning. And I was trying to play the cool, fun, exciting stuff that's stimulating for a mind that's, you know, fairly like intelligent. That's the problem. That's
Right.
the only regret if I had one.
Yeah. So for anybody listening to this on or not watching the video, he has the pyramid upside down, just on its point. So there's no base under it. Like you can just wobble back and forth. But if you have that base of like financial literacy, understanding entrepreneurialism, all that kind of stuff, then you work your way up from that point, is what he's saying.
Yep, 100%.
I see your cash flow on your whiteboard back there. You're like that's why they call you Uncle O.
Uncle O, baby, right here in the house. No, so I'm super stoked, man. I'll tell you where we're going if you want to do that. You should ask it, but I figure we're headed there next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So listen, here's the deal. I have a real personal problem with lack of financial literacy, like majorly. So use the skills I have, use what I've built, use the wealth I've built, use the hatred for the lack of financial literacy, connect it to the internet. What can we build, right? What can we build that's kick-ass, that serves the purpose of actually helping people, way more people than just a couple of people in an apartment community, but like massive amounts of people, massive action. Because now we have the resources and the knowledge to actually do something real, really real. So what we want to do, or what we're doing, the master plan has been worked on. COVID kind of put the middle finger in it for a minute, but don't let that get in the way of anything. Everything's temporary. Like tomorrow will be a better day, no matter what. So what I'm going to do is we're starting a platform. It's worldwide. I mean, this is basically a tech startup. We're going to buy these properties, get people financially literate, and offer them smaller chunks of the property so they can come in and they can piggyback on my knowledge and my ability to play this game the right way based off my track record of what I've done, not in another industry, but in this industry is where we've made our 14 million bucks in equity. I want to give other people that opportunity, just like I had it, help them along the way, educate them along the way, and actually make them wealthy, just like I have made myself wealthy by doing that as a service on a worldwide scale.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So are you doing it for like just anybody, or do you have to be an accredited investor? Like what?
Right. So unfortunately right now it costs like $500,000 to do it for anybody because the government's in the way, which sucks. Right. It really is not. I mean, I think that rule is probably going to be changed sometime because I mean, like you can't hold people from making good financial decisions. Not when there's entrepreneurs that are willing to take everything that they've done, put it on the table, offer it to other people, and make somebody else's life better. Like that's literally what I want to do. I want to make other people's life better. So yeah, I mean, I literally want to make other people's life better. I don't have any, like financial need really anymore. And it's very exciting to me to build really big things. And that's $1 billion idea. So I think we're going to pursue it. It's going to cost a whole lot of money. Mm-hmm. We're going to buy some assets this year. We're going to buy some assets that cash flow really heavily, that make a lot of money. And it's not necessarily just real estate. Probably going to buy some businesses that will throw off as much money as we can possibly find of an asset to buy. So that will then finance this whole thing that we're going to do totally to the next level. And that way we won't have to potentially won't have to go outside to try to raise any capital at all. I just want to grow it organically, but it takes millions of dollars to do it. Like it literally does. So that's the plan. Like there's a whole master plan.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's where, a lot of people struggle right now is because like the government is getting in the way of a lot of things that could help like the small guys.
When business is left alone, here's what happens. People that are good, provide good value, and follow through on that good value are rewarded. People that suck and do it just for the money and do it just to, just like for no good reason, they aren't really providing value, they fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the natural order. That's how it should be, because that's a true competitive landscape. And that's how it was meant to be set up. So if you're going to set up the game, right, and then you're going to come in and put your finger over here and move that piece and then remove that ability and then lock that down and tell somebody what to do over here and all this shit, you're meddling in the whole game you set up. You've destroyed the game in the first place. Of course people want socialism. You're fucking with the game.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
They're there to regulate. We need them. They have to regulate. You can't let a capitalist get. What happens is the game's so fun that you keep building it bigger and bigger, right? And you would eventually probably be able to pretty much own everything in the capitalist game, right?
Right.
So you can't let that happen all the way, because it needs to be a fair playing field. So the government needs to only regulate the fairness of the playing field. That makes sense. Not reach in and say, oh, you can't trade this stock today because, you know, Reddit went ape shit on it, or like, you have to let it be what it is. Okay. But you need to be there when things get just so lopsided and so like out of whack. It's like, okay, guys, we got to figure this out. Like, hey, Bezos, you need to like sell off a couple of these pieces, because you're controlling the market. You're saying this guy can't make money because you can buy it from this guy and you own this guy, and that, so now that guy's out. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? Like, it can't get to that point, because then it becomes not capitalism anymore. But capitalism, as it's natively supposed to be set up, is a fair game of basically athletic ability of entrepreneurs, is awesome.
For sure. Well, that makes total sense.
Because I'm not going to get up tomorrow, dude. I'm going to get up tomorrow and do exactly zero if you take this game away, which means if I start a thing for investors to come invest in and become wealthy just like I did, that won't exist. If I was making Amazon, that won't exist. If I was going to make Tesla, that won't exist. So for anybody that says they don't want capitalism, that means they don't want all the good things that are in life. They want to go back to a cave and a stick and a piece of fire and hunting for their own food. Like, because that's incentive, right, for us to go out and create cool stuff. That's incentive for us to put together a team and design a rocket, to design a car that's electric. Like, okay, we're passionate about it now. And now because of capitalism, right, because people would like to have it, we have the money to actually pay thousands, you know, of people to actually go out and spend all their energy innovating and creating it. You're not going to have that in any other system. And that's why it's the saddest thing in the world to hear people talking about how they hate capitalism. That means you hate innovation, you hate evolution of who we are, and you hate everything that we have, basically.
Uh-huh. Yeah. How are you finding like balance in your life? Like, you're doing all these things professionally. You have what you're doing currently. You have your next steps of what you're going to create for, you know, how you're creating value for the next generation and helping other people create wealth for themselves. But how do you find balance? Like, what do you do to maintain like relationships in your personal life, or, you know, physically, you know, just tell me about your life outside of the professional world that like keeps you sane.
Well, I mean, honestly, my bike keeps me sane, and living small keeps me sane, and trying to enjoy, you know, I don't like management. And this comes with a lot of management. But then you go, okay, I take that as a challenge. I'm going to figure out how to not be involved in management, how to only be involved in growing. So that means I got to figure out, okay, who do I need? Where do I put them? What do they do? How's this set up? So that becomes a challenge. And then it becomes, you know, okay, again, because it's a challenge. So I like challenges. I like growing. There's things that I like doing. My brother, you know, we're both 100% completely dedicated to the cause. And we both have different things that we like about it. So we toss them back and forth. You know, but at the end of the day, it's like, I had a little bit of time, you know, not too long ago, where it felt like I didn't have to really do anything. Like, holy cow, like almost made it. And it's terrifying. Like, it's boring. Like, it's super boring. So I couldn't not be a creator. Because it's what you get up to do in the morning, you know, and you care about it. But as far as the actual balance, I mean, riding the bike a lot, eating well, making food at home, having a good relationship who's supportive, 100%, 150%, who understands that I'm doing this and she's doing that, and what I'm building is super important just as well as what she does. So it's having good people around you and not having people that don't believe around you, having a positive mindset all the time, taking the negatives always as they're just school. Everything that happens is bad is school. It's like, oh, well, made a mistake. Okay, well, won't be doing that again. And then figuring out how to bias towards, always biasing, inching, biasing towards the win instead of the mistake, and that's what happens. And then you get good at it, and then it becomes like easy, and you're like, shit, it's easy. Now I want something bigger. I want to grow something even more. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with money per se. It has to do with actually building something. And so, I came from that through production, marketing, and then through movies. Like, all I've ever done is produce stuff. So to me, that's why I said I don't like management, because if I'm not producing and creating and making and growing, I'm not happy at all. That's what's exciting to me. That's what's interesting. It's like, how can I grow this to do that, to do that? So like, my ultimate goal is like, okay, I want to have enough money that I can always hire like 20 guys who are like $100,000 a year or more, okay, on a revolving salary all the time to go do amazing shit. Like, well, we've got plastic issues. The oceans are filling up with plastic. That's disgusting. Okay, we need to fix that problem. It only takes 20 guys to invent a bunch of kick-ass shit, okay, if you pay them, to actually go completely eliminate the problem, the supply chain, whatever the issue is, whether it's a problem for people, a problem for nature, a problem for the planet, whatever it is, it takes a very small amount of real geniuses to actually fix that. And my ultimate exit goal is to have enough money coming in from passive investments, working with other investors, etc., that at any time I want to, I can say, we're going to go do that. Let's get it fixed. This is bullshit. Nobody's taking care of it. And when you have that kind of money and you can do that, and that's what you want to do, you would not believe what you can do to change the world. Because I've done it with movies. I know what a Navy SEAL team can create. Like, it's amazing. But you can't get them for free. So you tell me that capitalism is bad, and then you tell me that my goal is to be able to hire people for a good wage and go change and make this place a better place, and that's my end goal. How in the world is capitalism bad? I want the means and ability to be able to do things that mean something.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I don't see a guy like you ever retiring. Like, are you ever gonna retire?
I doubt it, dude. It's so boring looking. It's so incredibly boring. I want to travel. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like, there's a big world to see. There, for Elon, there's Mars to see. For me, it's like fucking, dude, Earth. Like, I need to see Earth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you have any time to travel? Like, with everything going on? Like,
no, not really. I mean, what I do is, I was out in California not too long ago looking at a deal, and I'm like, okay, great. Yosemite. I remember a national park, a metal national park plaque in my bedroom when I was like 7 years old. It was like Yosemite, and it had like a buffalo on it and a big tree. I remember like the sun was on it. I'm like, dude, I'm 40. I've never seen that place. So I went, looked at the deal, got a rental car, went to Yosemite National Park, climbed the tallest trail I could find, took pictures at the waterfall, enjoyed the hell out of the nature there, and just saw the most amazing place I've ever seen, and was so thankful that somebody hadn't completely destroyed it yet with an apartment complex.
Oh yeah.
So you find, I don't have any, what's your ritual? What is your, what's your daily, what do you do? Like, what's your schedule? All that. I have zero. I do whatever needs to be done. And the moment it doesn't need to be done, I'm either on to the next thing needs to be done, or I'm taking a short break, getting on the bike, riding it, coming back, taking a call while I'm in the woods on the bike, doing an 8-figure deal, like whatever, whenever, however, or sitting here with you. And then I'm going to go, eat dinner upstairs. Like it, you know what I mean? Like and people go, yeah, but how do you keep moving forward? Like, if you have no habits, like how do you keep the Like, that's not what it's about. It's about saying, here's my goal. And every day what I'm doing every day is moving towards it, whether it's a setback and then a zigzag and a move and over there and back over there. But I'm always moving towards it. I'm constantly on a surfboard headed down that wave, right to the end. Like that's all day long, every day. And so when that becomes you train your brain. Okay, what you do is you train your brain that every day I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna move towards that goal, right? And then what you say is, well, that goal is, well, in my case, right now, that goal is becoming more financially successful and generating a bigger empire that can help me and then eventually help other people and then eventually help tons of people. So I'm growing that every single day, right? And that's what I do. I don't go do things that aren't doing that goal. Whereas most people are like, I trade my time for money and then I go home and I disappear. Like, I am not trading my time for money. I'm trading my time that's actually expanding my empire every single day, everything I do. That's my 9 to 5. My 9 to 5 is growing my empire size every single day, while everybody else is on the treadmill going like this and getting a paycheck and giving it to BMW. And I'm over here just doing this all day long. Dude, it's mindset and knowing the basic. You know, you could learn in a month. You can learn what I'm doing in a freaking month.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Really can.
It's stupid simple when you break it down like that.
Yeah.
Someone like you can just
break it down. It actually is, but it takes dedication. It takes a little bit of knowledge and lots of more dedication. And then if you're in the very beginning, it's exponentially harder than when you get to where I am, like exponentially. Like in the very beginning, man, I made $5,000 on that flip. Now I'm like, man, I only made 3 million on that flip. Well, dude, food costs the same on the $5,000 flip as it does on the $3 million flip, which means that food for a day costs a large percentage of the $5 grand I just made. And over here, I could eat for like the next 300 years. So as you grow, as it becomes a bigger, monster that you're actually working on, it becomes percentage-wise, it's the same, right? It's the same percentage of profit. But remember, dollars, you don't have to spend. Oh, it'd be like saying, okay, well, now that I made a $3 million flip, my BMW cost $1.5 million instead of 80 grand. Like that stuff doesn't change. So when you get further and further and further above the raw cost of living, then it actually exponentially becomes easier and easier to do it. That part of it's a little whack. I'm still getting used to that. Like, it's crazy, but it's true. And so it's a little bit, it's kind of fucked up in a way because it's so much easier once you get up to keep going and getting bigger than it is when you're in the very, very beginning. So it's an exponential curve backwards, right? So the lower you are and the less you start with, the harder it is, because cost of living cost in the beginning 80%, 90% of what you're trying to do, but in the end it costs like 0.1%, right? Mm-hmm. So it becomes easier to do it. And that holds a lot of people back, because who wants to go through the immense pain and suffering in the very beginning when, man, I've only got a $4,000 paycheck. How am I going to save money to do anything? My answer to that is pretty simple. Here's what you're going to do. If you have a $4,000 paycheck and you want to play the game I'm playing, you're going to go on frickin' yard sales and offer up and stuff, and you're going to buy shit like this for discount. And you're going to double it by flipping it to eBay or somewhere else. Okay, and you're going to do that at night, and you're going to continue to do that for a fucking year if that's what it takes, at the little level of $100, $200, $500, $300. And remember what we talked about? Less than 12 flips to get to $1 million. Mm-hmm. You're going to build your pile of money on the side. You're going to get your $4,000 a month working for somebody like me, and you're going to, over here, you're going to be doing a little side hustle constantly, just not giving up, just constantly making little flips. And this money you never ever spend. You only spend it to buy another thing to do another flip on. So this pile over here is just going to get exponentially bigger over time, you're like, oh man, I'm up to, you know, I made $3,000 on this car flip, and then I made $10,000 on this boat flip, and then I made $50,000 on this house flip. And then before you know it, you're buying $1 million apartment community that's worth $4 million more when you get done with it. Not a million. Okay, it would be worth 500K more, a million more maybe. But you know, you get the point. Like,
Yeah.
So my point is, even though it's stacked against you when you start, if you start young enough, time is in your favor, okay, to do what I just said on the little side hustle and still be surviving over here, dude. There's nothing wrong with living in your mom's basement or driving dude, I'll drive a Toyota. I don't give a shit. I haven't taken more than 60K out of anything I'm doing to this day, and I still will not go buy a super expensive car. And I could buy 20 of them because the principles of what I'm saying right now are drilled so deep into my skull that I can't let myself be the loser consumer that everybody else is being when they have no money.
Right. But that's also why, like, most people won't get to your level of wealth, because like the same principles that are keeping them broke or keeping them poor are the same principles that would hurt them, even if they're like, you know, everybody always says, oh, if I made $1 million a year, like when they hear you say like you're making $1 million a year behind the scenes in appreciation, they're probably like, man, like that would be amazing. I could buy, you know, a house, a car, but those same principles are what are keeping you ahead. Yeah. So I think
That's
like
right.
the more people that understand that, the better. Like I still struggle with it. Like I'm only 21, so I still want to go buy a new pair of shoes or like a nice pair of clothes. But you know, I also have to tell myself like I have something in the back of my head. It's like, no, don't do it. You know, it's like
$7 t-shirt, $7 t-shirt at Target, $22 shoes at Walmart, and a hat. Well, this is the film ministry hat. It was free. I think this bracelet was like maybe $5, and this right here is a broken, totally destroyed. You can see it. Broken iPhone, a watch that I bought. Guess where? On OfferUp for 1/4 of what it was new, and it was 2 generations old. Now it's like 4 generations old. What do I need? What do I really need? I need a Prius. I need a cell phone and my mind to go make millions. That's what I need. And we realize that all you need is what you really need. Everything else goes out. Dude, I sold my house. I sold all my shit. I got rid of an RV. I got rid of a boat. I had a bunch of bullshit. It was all used. It was all dirt cheap, but it was still a bunch of bullshit. And you know what it did? It fucking slowed me down because I got to deal with it. I got to insure it. I got to put it up. I got to fix it. It breaks down when I use it. Like, fuck that shit. I got rid of the house. I'm living in a condo tower, dude. I live in 600 square feet, make $14 million this year. And I have like nothing but my car and the shit you see on Instagram, a bike and a wife. That's it. I'm playing the game, dude. The game is fun. And the less you have holding you down and holding you back, the more fun it is. You want to know why? This is a secret. This is a key. The less shit you have holding you down and holding you back, okay, the more of an aggressive person you become at doing what you need to do to get to where you're going. Because what do I have to lose? Grandma will put me up at her house. If I go bankrupt, I'm good. Dude, I'm always going to have food. There's food kitchens. I'm always going to have a roof over my head. I can work to get it. Walmart always needs a greeter. When you realize that, you realize you have the communist fucking safety net already through friends, family, and literally safety nets, then what do you have to lose other than to go do something awesome? Nothing. Nothing. So do it. Stop dreaming. Start acting. So that, you know, that's how I see it. And right or wrong, I don't know. Like I told you, I'm barely even in the minor leagues right now. Like this game is so big, I don't exist. I am a speck. I'm a flea's shit on an elephant's ass. But I want to play. I'm getting up. I'm doing it. I'm seeing the progress. The progress is exciting. It's absolutely turning into reality. And I can see now a path. I can see from where I am to $1 billion company. I see exactly how to get there. And that little challenge right there is something that's just irresistible. And now, if you're not the kind of guy that wants to do that, totally understand. Totally get it. There's absolutely A and B personalities. There's definitely people that climb mountains and definitely people that watch other people climb mountains. But what I'm saying is the basic principles of not dying broke, okay, the basic principles of having something that's of value that lets you work less and less and less and less as you get older is achievable by absolutely anybody who can do it as a hobby on the side. You don't have to do what I'm doing. My life is a little whack. Okay, I'm the one who wants to be the world champion, even if he falls short. But if you use the principles and you get financially, literate, you actually learn the game, then you absolutely 100% in this system, in COVID, today, right now, can become wealthy over time by playing. But you got to play. You got to play. So that's why I want to create the platform. It's an equal deal. We come in, I use my millions of dollars to buy the asset. I buy them good. I buy them, where they've got value in them. Maybe they need a little bit of work, something that creates a little bit of value. I purchase it with my money. I turn around. I let other people come into it for smaller amounts. It's still my deal, still the same deal that I bought. It's 100% the same thing, just sliced up into little pieces. And then I help other people become wealthy. If I do that, I will be giving great value to people, and they will be happy, thankful, and they will reward me and give me a little piece of it along the way as we grow it, and it will be a total success, and it can go worldwide.
Yeah, let's just end it there because we somehow stretched like a 30-40 minute segment into like almost 2 hours.
I figured.
So no, tell my audience like where they can find you online, connect with you, and if they figure more out about you.
Cool. Yeah, man. Absolutely. So it's right now it's olsoncapitalinvestments.com. That's our platform. We're going to be rebranding that shortly. Something like, Equity Invest, or, some kind of a name that's a little more Silicon Valley, a little more broad, that isn't just like me and my brother's name, because that's what we need to do. So we'll be rebranding, but right now it's olsoncapitalinvestments.com. It's Obin, I think, _ Olson on Instagram, OBIN _ OLSON. I think that's right. You want to double check that? Or is it space?
Yeah. I'll put it in the description of the podcast.
Yeah. And then I'm totally addicted to I'm completely addicted to Clubhouse. That is, dude, off the charts. I mean, I'm talking about billionaires on there daily talking about their grind up. So I've got my mentors lined out on there. It's pretty sweet. But I'm going to try to start a room on there and just talk straight entrepreneurialism, straight unfiltered, because I think it would be a great platform to do that on. Right now, I'm just following some people and trying to figure out how to use it. So
sounds good. Well, I want to thank you again. We really appreciate your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you. You created a ton of value. So
awesome, man. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Thank you for listening to the Pinot Growth Podcast. If you'd like to support and get access to exclusive content, such as show notes and unedited videos of the people I have on the show, visit my Patreon in the description, or visit patreon.com/pinoatgrowth. Lastly, please leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening to this, and give feedback on who you'd like to hear on future episodes. Thank you.